Hey you guys, this is girl Lacey. I'm here to review the Assassination of Gianni Versace, episode 5, season 2. So we're going to jump right into it. The show starts in Milan, Italy, and Versace is in a room with himself, Donatella, and Antonio, and he is telling Donatella that he's going to be doing an interview for the Advocate, which is American chapter for gay readers. He says it's a small circulation. She's like, "What are you going to be doing there?" She's like, "He said I'm going to be telling them I'm going to be coming out of the closet, saying that I am gay, and including Antonio." And she was like, "Why didn't you inform me? Um, I'm your publicist. I deal with all of the interviews, all of your public image. So why would you not inform me of something you were going to do when you're going to make an interview?" And he was like, "Well, I'm informing you now. I'm consulting you now." And so they continue to argue. And basically, she's like, "So are you doing this because of Antonio?" And he was like, "Listen, I know my place. Um, I know, I'm his boyfriend. That's my place. And people have been mistaking me for his assistant for 13 years. And basically, he wants it to stop. He wants to be known as his lover." And she's like, "Oh, so this is about you." She said, "So, what about the company? Is your pride more important than our company?" He was like, "Listen, I know my place, unlike you." And I was like, I didn't like that comment. I like not knowing my place. I didn't quite know what to make of it, but I was like, okay, bitch. Tonio, we like you, but you need to tread lightly. But so they continue to argue, and Gianni is like, "Listen, this is my decision. This has nothing to do with just him. I'm coming out as who I am, and that's what it's going to be." He walks out. She talks to him. She was like, "This kid, we're about to put our company on the New York Stock Exchange. This can interfere with all our business. This has cost us millions, if not hundreds of millions, in dollars in investments. This could cost us everything. So why do you want to do?" Sorry for the interruption, you guys. I just got a call from work. But anyway, he was like, "What is this going to cost us? What is your admission going to cost us?" He's like, "Listen, he basically has to be true to himself. He has to be honest." And she was like, "You know what?" She brought up Perry Ellis. Apparently, he was a fashion designer. He was a man who was gay, and he had contracted HIV, and basically morphed into full blown AIDS, and he was very weak and very sick. And she was like, when he took a bow, his assistants had to catch him, and right after that, people stopped buying his clothes. And he said some people. She said no, a lot of people. He said no, some people did, and he felt that it was one of his most moving, more powerful, runway shows. And she was like, "Well, why are you doing this now?" He said, "Because I got a second chance. I could have died, but I'm alive, and I want to live. I want people to know who I am. I don't want to hide anymore." So that was that. They had that moment, and then we go into the rest of the episode, and it's basically um, getting deeper into the challenges about being openly gay, about being hassled. It goes into Jeff Trail, and he was in the military. Um, I believe he left, or I don't know if he was discharged or if he left on his own. Um, he was at lunch at work in Minneapolis, and he was talking to this guy. He was in the Navy, I think, and he was in the Marine. One of them was in some Navy and Marines. One of them. They was talking, and the other guy was like, "I figured I would never be an officer, so I went ahead and just stopped the whole ordeal." And he's like, "Oh, I was an officer." He's like, "Well, why'd you quit then? What type of shit is that?" And he was like, "I just don't want to talk about it." And he kept asking him questions, and then Jeff kept getting irritated, and it was really like fucking with him. And the guy said, "Hey, my wife says I asked too many questions. I really am sorry." He said, "I don't want to talk about it. It was my decision." And he just like flips out. And I think it was a very extremely sensitive topic about, who he is and his identification. And so, he tripped the fuck out. So I was like, okay, he just needs a moment. And he just walked away. He walked off. And so then the next scene, I think the same guy came in while he was back at work in putting the little canisters on the thing on the little rack. I think it was like propane tanks. I think he was selling propane tanks. I think that's one of the identities that Andrew took on, saying he was a naval officer and he was selling propane tanks, shit like that. And it was Andrew calling. He left a message saying that he'll see him at the airport. I was like, bitch, I don't. Again, with the I simply can't flute. We're not doing this. Andrew is nuts. And then there's a scene where Andrew's on the phone with this person from the airlines, I think American Airlines. And I'm like, damn, this must be really, this is definitely like the 90s. Because for somebody to like just trust you like that and be like, oh, just send me here and I'll get you your money. Like that's some old school shit. Because I don't even know if they'll still do no shit like that nowadays. Because people are such scammers. And well, people have always really been scammers. I doubt they would ever do no shit like that today. But he was like, I have friends in Minneapolis that can give me the money. And then after I pay you the money, I can be your best customer again and we can get shit situated. So the lady went to go talk to her manager and then got him a ticket. And so then he ended up in Minneapolis. Um, Jeff went to go see his sister. His sister was pregnant. I forgot her name. Normally I take notes, but I was like, fuck this shit. We're just going to go through. She's pregnant. I think she used to be in one of the militias. I think the Navy, Army, one of them shits, Marines. I don't know. And so they basically were talking and they were saying, he told her that Andrew he was in town and that he's going to stay at his apartment and she's going to stay with him. And they were discussing the fact that Andrew had sent a postcard to Jeff's parents using his last name as his own, using Jeff's last name as his own, basically saying that's his man, and almost outing him. But I really think parents know when their kids are gay and shit. Like it's your kid. You know your kid. You know, especially mamas. Mamas know they little boys. So his sister was like, he was trying to out you. And that was a direct threat. And I'm like, yeah, that was a threat. That was a threat. That was I can hit you at home whenever I want to. Fuck with me and I can go to that place that you are afraid of me going to. And I really wasn't with that shit. I didn't like that about Andrew, but Andrew's this fucking psycho. So there's gonna be a lot of shit we don't like about Andrew. So when they get to the airport, David and Jeff were talking, and David was like, he doesn't have anybody, and we should be there to console him. And Jeff is like, he doesn't have anybody because of him. Don't feel bad about this motherfucker not having anybody who's not who he says he is, and don't you start letting him get in your mind with that fuckery. Because, he ain't shit and he's not to be trusted. He's alone, and he's lonely because of him. Okay? Now, Andrew walks up and he's like giddy, like, hey guys, all of this. I'm like, you're a good actor, because I would never know you're insane. So then he was like, we're going to have a good time. And he was like, David was like, I can't be with you tonight because I'm going out with a friend. He's like, what friend? He's like, oh, you don't know him. And he was like, oh, really? Oh, okay. And then Jeff was like, I'm not going to deal with you tonight. He basically just told David a few minutes ago, like, I'm going to deal with him because he was there for me when I needed him to be. So I'm going to deal with him for this weekend for old time's sake, and then we're fucking done. I'm done. I'm no longer going to be obligated to him past this weekend. So it is what it is. And Jeff basically told him, listen, I'm not fucking with you. You can stay at my apartment. I'll stay with my sister. And he was like, oh, okay, he was really upset about it. And he's like, well, why can't you just stay with me? Like, he just wanted to kick it. He wanted it to be like the three amigos and them all be together. But it's like, no, we can't be together. You're insane. We don't trust you. At that point, David was still on the fence, but he knew something was wrong. And so then he was like, oh, okay. So then they got back to David's apartment, Andrew and David. And Andrew gave David this gold watch. I'm like, what? Okay. So when he's like, oh, this is nice, and he's kind of like, eh. He was wincing hard. It's one of those, bitch. I don't really want this. It's something wrong with you, and I don't know if I should be accepting shit from you. You know, like when little kids see a strange grown person, and they try to give them candy. Like, nah, man, I want the candy, but my mom and daddy told me not to talk to strangers, and this don't feel right. It was like one of those situations. So he was like, "This is nice," and put it down on the table. I was like, I can't. So then he turns around and goes to the kitchen, David. And Andrew grabs the watch and gets on his knees and says, I want you to marry me. David was like, get the fuck off your knee. We can't get married. He's like, why not? It's like, because it's illegal. It's 1997. The fuck? He's like, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm like, yeah, it does. You can't get married. He's like, well, we call it a commitment ceremony. I was like, bitch. And this is interesting. This show really shows how, like, in all his interviews about his life and interviewing his family and talking to psychologists and psychiatric people, or whatever, it might be a different field. I don't know those doctors. I don't know what they do quite well. I know somebody does some shit with the mind. They talk to motherfuckers about their mind. So, what I can pull from this show and seeing all his other, like, ABC specials about Andrew Cunanan and his life and his mentality, he could not handle rejection. He just was like volatile when it came to rejection. That just was not some shit he could handle, and it wasn't some shit he was going to take. He was not going to take rejection. He just wasn't going to do it. And it really shows this in all of, the scenes, every scene. And I like how with this show, they're going backwards and they're going from random times instead of forward. I think forward would have been nice, but forward is real predictable. They started off with him killing Gianni, and it's like, God damn, so they're really serious about this. But it just shows, he can't handle rejection. So, and also, before he got to Minneapolis, I think it was really interesting how he was shooting up between his toes. So he was a junkie, but he was smart enough not to show track marks in his arm. Now, I didn't. The way it makes sense. Well, so when he gets down to Miami with Ronnie and he's smoking, I'm like, does he smoke out of nowhere? Like, no, he's had a habit for a while, and I wonder if he got on his habit or if one of his clients and his boyfriends got him on his habit. I wonder. So David is like, we can't get married, and even if we could, I just wouldn't marry you. So then David, he's like, oh, okay, and he goes to David is like, go take a shower and all the rest of that. He's like, he simply can't because he's going to get ready for his night to go out with his friend Linda from work. And so I think if David wasn't gay, I think David and Linda would be a nice couple. But, it's like, one can think. But that's as far as that goes. But, so David goes and gets ready for his night. Andrew goes to Jeff's apartment, gets ready and dressed. And then as he's getting dressed, he's going through Jeff's belongings from his base, from his Navy base, his uniform, his hat, his gun, and this tape about him doing a special with ABC about homosexuality in the military or in the Navy or something like that. And so then a scene goes back in time, goes back to November 1995 when Jeff is out on his, I don't know how to say it. I guess he's assigned to his base on the water or whatever. And he's doing his rounds. He's an officer, so he's doing his rounds. He's doing pretty good. And he goes down somewhere by the boiler room, by the control room, and these two guys are fighting. This one guy is whooping this other guy's ass. This one guy, he's a gay guy. personally, again, this is what I was talking about with the murder house, with that guy approaching Sal Manoa and beating him up and stabbing him and killing him for him being gay. It seems real suspect when you always on somebody's case about them being gay, about them liking men, talking about I don't like gay people and I don't like this, and you always all up on another man. It seemed like you got some type of low key lust for them, and you just trying to, make them submit and trying to dominate them before you, you know. It just seemed like some old prison shit, and I'm just gonna say it like that because to me that's what it seems like. I'm gonna dominate you before I make you submit all the way, like one of them shits, like one of them Shank redemption type shits. That shit. So then he beats his ass, and he was like, "You tell that gay boy if he touches me again." And the gay guy, I hate to call him the gay guy. I'm gonna call him Bert because I don't know his name. I done fucked around and forgot. So then Bert, he beats his ass. He beats him in the face and knocks him cold out. And I was so proud of Bert. I'm like, that's right. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I touch you again?" I was like, "Yay, Bert. I like this." So then Jeff breaks him up. He's like, "That's enough. You're even. Stop." And then later on, they went. The other guy, the jackass, he went to Bert when he was asleep, and he held him down. And I think they put some rocks in his socks, and they literally beat him for quite a while, doing a whole bunch of damage. He was bleeding, and they put a sock in his mouth, and so he couldn't make no noise, couldn't hear it. And it was a bunch of men beating him with a rock, just with rocks, I think. Just kept hitting him. And the man was asleep. And I'm like, what part of the game is this? If he's gay, that ain't your business. That's his business. I'm like, bitch, that ain't got nothing to do with you. That shit pisses me off. I don't like shit like that. Just let it be his business, and then you go on about your business. Okay, that's from work. But I don't know. So then Jeff stops it and he takes him to the shower room. And he's like, "You gotta report them." He was like, "And do what? What are they gonna do? They're not gonna do anything." And I'm like, it kind of reminds me of when you hear about the sexual assault on the in the platoons with different bases, and how they don't do anything. You just get assaulted, and whatever God you pray to, may they help you. If may they help you if you actually do report somebody, and the person you report is above you, their rank is higher than yours. You know. I'm sorry, I ain't had Takis in years. I just needed a Taki. So he's like, "I don't need to report people. I need you to switch me out. Get me off this base." And so he looks at him, and I think it's kind of like one of those things like, "I'm gay too. I'm with you." It's kind of like, how black people, we look at each other and we know shit is up, and we go to console one another. Kind of like one of them shits. Like, "Sister, brother, I got you." So then he hugs him. And to me, I don't see anything wrong with him hugging him. Because even if he wasn't gay, like, you don't have a right to somebody be asleep and then you just beat them out they sleep like that. You don't have a right to do no shit like that. Um, Apparently it was around that time that Clinton came in with that "don't ask, don't tell" legislation. So I'm like, okay, that was good, because I'm about to say, because I know it was more gay people on there than just two. But sorry. As he's consoling him, another officer is walking in, and he's watching him rub on him, and he treats him sideways. Like, again, even if he wasn't gay, there's nothing wrong with you having compassion for people, and just being there for them in their time of need. But I don't know. So then the next day, the officer, Jeff goes to lunch, and the officer is talking about, "Oh, did you hear about some base between 3 and 4, they found an officer. Basically, there's a place where the gay um, soldiers hook up, and they found an officer. He was hooking up with other gay guys, and he basically had to snitch, but he didn't know nobody's names. He said he didn't know names, he didn't see faces. All he saw was tattoos when they were having sex, and I think it was one of those hole in the hole type bathrooms, one of those things like where you sucking somebody off or fucking them in the ass or some shit. I think it's one of those setups. So he was gonna. They said had to snitch based on the tattoos that he's seen before, and he's like, "Oh, okay." And so then the next scene, you see Jeff trying to cut his tattoo, I think off or open or something. I'm like, man, it ain't that deep. Just either get out the Navy or just act like shit ain't. Just get it covered up with another tattoo. You gotta start hiding tattoos and shit. It's never that deep. So then, I think the scene after that, Jeff is called in to go see one of his other superiors, and she gave him this book about diversity and something else, and he starts reciting off codes for the homosexuality practices. And the brother asked him, do you know all the rules? Like, you know that one by heart? And he was like, well, I know most of them. He was like, oh, okay. Don't sound right. And I was like, Jeff, my dude, you just gave yourself away. And that wasn't even necessary. He's like, you're not going to read the book? He was like, I'm all right. So then, I forget how he said he got out of um, whatever. But then he eventually, when they got to San Diego, he got on a port, and he went to this gay bar for the first time. This was his first gay bar ever. He went in there, and that's the first time he met Andrew Cunanan. Big mistake. The gay bar thing was probably fine, but Andrew, ixnay. Don't do that shit. Well, too late now because he's gay. I mean, because he's dead. Sorry. Not because he's gay. What the fuck? So, it was too late now because he's dead. So, he goes and he meets Andrew, and Andrew's kind of making fun of him, like, oh, this is your first time being in a gay bar? Oh, well, we gotta tell the bartender so he can shoot out sparks with your names all in it. And he was like, are you serious? He's like, oh my God, you're just too cute. You're just too cute. And so then he discusses things with Andrew, and they start to become intimate, and they start to become serious. And then he later tells Andrew that ABC is doing a special about gay people. I don't know if it was just the men who are gay, about gay men who serve in different forms of militia. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, so you mean to tell me they're going to interview, I'm sorry, my throat is hot. They're going to interview the homophobic straight males and show their faces in their uniforms like they're proud war heroes, but they're going to put you in the dark and distort your voice like you're a criminal. Oh, that's just rich. And I didn't think that was right, but I do understand he had to hide. He was like, if I don't, my career is over. And so at that point, this is a video that Andrew is watching about Jeff doing his interview with ABC. And at that point, you see Jeff going to a motel to go with ABC under some disclosure, and doing the interview with ABC. And then at the same time, you see Gianni and Antonio going to do their interview with what is the Advocate at this nice hotel. So then Gianni does his interview, and he stops the interview. He said, listen, I've been with Antonio for 13 years, and I don't want to hide anymore. So therefore, I want him to join into the interview. So he did, and they had the interview. And then they go back and forth between Gianni coming out and Jeff coming out, but he still has to hide. And so then he's like, I'm an officer, but I never gotten elevated, and it's because I'm gay. He said I was scared to do this interview because I feared that if they found out I was gay, it'd be the end of my career. But I really feel like it's already the end of my career a long time ago, because I feel like they haven't appointed me for a higher position because they know I'm gay. So it kind of is what it is. Oh well. So then they discussed that, and after that, it goes back to that present day of '97, because that was in '95. It goes back to the present day of '97, and Jeff comes home to Andrew. I'm sorry, it's something I can't remember their names sometimes. Like, it's just all over the place for me. Jeff comes home to Andrew. Andrew has his stuff all out, and Jeff's like, "Don't touch my shit." He was like, "Why does it matter? Because Navy ain't shit, and they treated you so horribly. Why would you care?" And Jeff basically told him, it's not his business. Don't worry about it. Then it gets into, they start fighting, and then Andrew tells him he's washed up, and he doesn't know, he has a shitty job, and he's fighting for a country that hates him. And he's like, "You're not wrong there. Well, you don't understand what it's like to fighting for the country." He was like, "Well, it doesn't matter because the country never believed in you." He's like, "What have you ever believed in besides yourself? You wouldn't understand." He said, "I believed in you, so I would understand." And he basically kept trying to proposition him to, be together. He's like, "Listen, I don't want anything to do with you. Ever. There is no me and you. Deal with it. Get smooth the fuck over it. There's no me and you. I want nothing to do with you." Now, at this point, he has his gun. So then the scene goes back to the end. Earlier, Jeff was with his sister, and he was telling her, "I can't wait to be an uncle." And so now we're getting to the end of the show where David is going down to see Jeff, and they're coming up, and they're talking on the way in, and he's saying, "Oh, the only reason I came over here is because he called me and told me that he has my gun, and I'm just not gonna fuck with him no more. I hate him and all the rest of that shit." Now, Rambling Reviews, she said something that I completely 140% agree with. If a motherfucker that you got beef with has your burner and you don't have a burner, bitch, we're not going to go see them, okay? You can have that. I will report it stolen. The officers, they get paid to get shot at. I don't get paid to get shot at. So we're not doing this, okay? They can retrieve my shit, and if they would have retrieved it, all of this hoopla wouldn't have happened. Gianni might still be alive. Um, Jeff would be alive. David would be alive. Andrew, who knows? We don't care. We care, but we don't. So yeah, he should have called the police and let them get that shit, and him not get killed for it. So he goes down there. He comes in. So the end of the show comes on where um, Prince, the dog, he's tied to a chair or a table, and then David comes in with Jeff, and David's like, "What's wrong, buddy? Are you okay? You okay?" And then the door closes, and you can see Andrew standing there, still, calm. There's no nervousness. He is very sure about what he's about to do. Okay. Um, he has that hammer in his hand. That door closes, and the scene goes pitch black. So it's pretty much the end. And I was like, "Oh, poor baby." But it basically was highlighting the treatment of gay people, and especially gay men. Because I think people are. I don't think always, but people are somewhat more tolerant of lesbians, especially if they're sexy. they're real more tolerant. Like, oh, okay, it's two babes fucking each other. This is, this is every motherfucker's dream. But with two men, it's real. It's not accepted. Even now, a lot of people still will say, I don't really rock with that. And so I'm just like, well, you don't really have to rock with it. It's their business, not yours. So I always notice that. Like, now if it's two like burly women who aren't that attractive, people might be like, ugh, and just walk past them real quick. But if they're sexy, they'll be like, oh, okay, what's the big deal? I want to see that. I'd pay good money to see that. But with two men, it's just really just not the same instance. So I like that they highlighted it. I like that that Jeff and Gianni both went to the different forms of media publication to discuss them and their life and everything going on. And I think that was a very good show. I can't wait for episode 6. I want to know, because episode 1 you had Elizabeth and her husband. I'm wondering, is that her husband's watch? Did he get it from somebody else? What happened to Elizabeth and the husband? Like, because he, at the beginning of the show, he was in like dirty ass drawers. He had like a little shack. It looked like a little trap house. He was shooting up dope. And I'm like, and he had suits. So I'm thinking he took it from, it looks like he either got it from some Johns, some Treks, or he took it from Elizabeth's husband. I think he took that watch from her husband. I want to know what happened with them. So I'm hoping this is going to be like a 13 episode series, because I need more details. Because, yeah. So I'll see you guys later. Probably for American Horror Story Hotel, episode 2, season 5. So I love you guys. Mwah. Bye.